Hello, I'm your host, John Cavendish, and welcome to Season 4 of the Amazon Strategist Show. The show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets, and no magic pills, just real practical strategies to grow your Amazon business. Today, I'm joined by none other than Colin Plotica, who is the incredibly enthusiastic founder and CEO of Movement Retail, an Amazon brand management agency focusing on developing deep-seated partnerships with their clients. So, Colin, welcome to the show.
What's going on, man?
Yeah. Not much. If you're watching this, well, we're on a podcast. If you're watching this right now in the video, you see that Colin has a Star Wars comic behind you, and I just commented on that just before we started.
Yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and actually one of our team members got me this as a Christmas gift. It is a 3rd edition Illustrator signed copy of, and also PSA graded 9.4 copy of the original Star Wars comic. I lost my mind when I got it, so it was one of the most thoughtful gifts I've ever received.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Shows the team actually, really cares, which is cool. And to see if we want to continue with this podcast, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. I think it's unanimously the correct answer.
Okay, yeah. Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3.
Yeah, it's one of the prequels that George Lucas did after the original trilogy.
I'm surprised it was one of the prequels. I would have thought that anyone who didn't say one of the original 3 would have been put to death.
Maybe by some, but by maybe some of the newer generation Star Wars fans, the Revenge of the Sith is unanimously, or at least in my circle, unanimously the correct answer for the best Star Wars movie.
Cool. Well, took this away. If you take anything away from this episode, go and check out Revenge of the Sith again, because I don't think I've watched. I think I watched the first 3 again relatively recently, but not the original 3. The original real first 3 before those 3. Okay, cool. So before we were starting, we were talking about what to focus on for this episode, and because most of the audience of this episode are experienced sellers or people that are scaling up, I thought we could talk about new product development, because that's really where you have your secret sauce when you're inside your customers. So, really, how do you approach new product development, especially because you're developing with people who've already developed their own products in the past before they come to you? How do you kind of look deep inside and then start expanding out?
Yeah, definitely. So one of our main focuses in terms of partners that we work with are manufacturers. We work with a lot of manufacturers who are based in the U.S. as well. So they're able to be very nimble in the types of products that they develop, and in large part, as you had mentioned, created the base catalog that they have right now that we're helping them sell on Amazon. So, and due to the fact that our average relationship with one of our partners is like 2 to 2.5 years, you can continue to scale the catalogs that we're working with for 2 years for sure. But after a specific, you at some point reach a plateau, I would say, which is why we had to really start focusing on new product development. So it's been really fun actually, because a lot of the new ideas for new products come from the brands themselves. And we work in tandem with them to help really kind of test those ideas out. Whether it be, what we'll first do, kind of similar to a normal private label product launch, but it's fun because we're taking that experience that we have with understanding and building out new products for our own private label brand to these manufacturers who are really focused on and have really built their business in the B2B sector through distribution. We're helping them now launch new products D2C. So again, we're taking the ideas that they have and going out into the Amazon space using tools like Helium 10, Jungle Scout, and Data Dive to test to see whether or not there's even any sort of demand for these products. And I think one of the things that makes the partnerships that we have with some of our partners unique is that we can, in real time, iterate on brand new product, like on some of these new products that they are wanting to launch. So I can give the example of one of the brands that we worked with, who they were selling an iron supplement. They changed their formula without telling us and without telling their customers. their reviews started tanking over about a month and a half. It was very, very quick that we saw the reviews become. They went from like a 4.6 star rating down to like a 4.2 in about a month and a half. We without them coming to us, we were able to recognize this change, go to them and say, hey, did you guys change your formula by chance? And they're like, yeah, we had issues with our old supplier, found a cheaper supplier to use, and yeah, made this change in the background. And we're like, well, nobody really likes this change that you've made here. And we were able to, again, in real time, go back to them and assist with the reiteration of the old formula, and actually made some improvements to it, because what we understood from product reviews, from customer messages that we were receiving, and from some email inquiries that they were receiving through the customer support on their website, that the old and also new formulas were both pretty chalky. So we helped them test out. It was fun because we were able to send the products back and forth. They sent the products to us. We tested the products. And we tested them ourselves, and got to a point where we all kind of agreed that we were able to overcome that specific that chalky issue. And since that point, we've seen reviews raised back, unfortunately, not to the levels that they were at the peak of their specific or when they had launched. But we got the listing back to about like 4.5 stars. So we did see an improvement there, and brought some old customers back into the fold. So yeah, I mean, I think I didn't really answer your question super directly, but at a really high level, the way in which we are helping brands develop new products is, again, through our understandings of how to launch products and find opportunity and launch products in our own private label brands, and taking those learnings and that framework to some of these distributors, some of these manufacturers who built their businesses through distribution.
Love it. So when you said you test ideas out, like what's your best approach for testing ideas out? Because you mentioned the data-based research. So is it data first, and then what kind of batching, and how do you test the physical product? Or can you take me through the stages between getting data, approving it, rolling out a test run?
Yeah, for sure. So typically what we will do is, the first thing that we'll do is, like as you had mentioned, build a data set to effectively create the idea. With the data that we have from Amazon, from customer reviews, from competitor, from a deep competitor analysis, I would say, we take that back to the brand. They will then go and try to build out, with the framework that we provide them, they will try to go then build that product out internally. And we then will sometimes actually work with the brands to test the products ourselves. So they'll send it to us, and we'll hop on FaceTime or Zoom calls and go through our thoughts, like raw thoughts, real thoughts on how the product actually functions. If it's something that we can test, for example, we work with a company who sells like a poison ivy relief product, and they wanted to launch a poison ivy relief soap. We can't really we can't really test the poison ivy relief soap without giving ourselves poison ivy. But we were at least anyway able to. What's that?
You're not dedicated to your job.
Yeah. so it seems we had to go source poison ivy first to get
idle bushes next to a patch of poison ivy.
Yeah, exactly. We went on a hiking trip, unprotected. But no, so for something like that, we were more so just testing to see how the soap functioned when we went to wash our hands. Actually, my partner used it for that specific soap for about a month and a half in the shower as a replacement for regular soap, and said it worked fine. And the soap was a hit when it first launched, and still it performs quite well. But after we test the product in and of itself between us and our partners, we will then go and launch a test batch of the product on Amazon. Since in large part, again, because we're working with manufacturers, they have the ability to build really, really small batches. They're thankfully, in large part, they're not test buying products from China and getting it shipped over here. They are able to build the vast majority build the vast majority of the products out themselves, or those small batches. So at that point, once we've tested the product, we all kind of agree it's at a stage where we think it's launch ready. We will launch it on Amazon, and we will go through about a 3-month period of really high ad spend, pretty low pricing, and with the goal mainly being review generation. Our test for whether or not the product is good is how these organic reviews come back. If we spend $5,000 in the first 3 months on ads, on product, so on and so forth, and we get we end up with ratings at 4 stars or something along those lines, and people are not seeing the same sort of things that we saw during product testing, we'll come back and test the products again and then relaunch. So the testing of the market really relies on, again, relatively aggressive ad spend, low product pricing to generate organic reviews to tell us whether or not the product is worth its salt. Because I think one of the big things that I've learned over the past 11 years of selling on Amazon is you really can't put lipstick on a pig in this world of e-commerce. Which is cool because it to me it tells me how important customer reviews really are in the market. Like it's a phenomenal testing ground. You can think your product is the best product in the entire world, but when you actually get it in the hands of a real consumer who has to spend $30, has to spend $40, has to spend $50 on this product to test it out, something they've never tried before, they're going to be pretty honest as to whether or not it worked. And if it doesn't, they will be the first to tell you. Those customers will be the first to tell you that it doesn't. And Amazon customers, from my experience, are pretty relentless. And so they there might be some malintent there. But the point, I think, the point that I'm trying to make here is that through the organic review generation that we're looking to build in the product testing phase, we're able to flesh out whether or not the product is good or not, and we try to get to a point where either it makes sense to pull that product back and retest it and then launch it again, or hey, this just isn't going to work, to get it to a point where we need it to be. It's going to be way too expensive, and let's move on. Let's find something else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I suppose with your clients, what kind of volume of products are you launching and testing the average client? Are you trying to simultaneously once a month roll out a product? Are you going slow, going fast? How does that work? How do you decide even, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. So the cool, one really exciting thing, at least for me, about this agency is that we get to work with a bunch of different brands and a bunch of different niches. So we really only work with one brand per niche. So if we're selling, poison ivy soap, we're not going to work with another brand who sells poison ivy soap. The answer to your question, really, how do we decide, when do we decide to launch new products, is I'll be totally honest. It's really focused around what the brand wants to do and the stage in which the brand is in.